everyone. I'm Alex Goldstein. I come here I'm with the furniture. I've been here so many times. I stood here. There's a period last year I was here almost every Friday, so like I pretty much sat in every chair here, and it's good to be back here. It's been a while for me standing here. My presentation is likely not going to be as complex and as insightful as Isaiah's. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about, you're going to be like, yeah, I know this stuff, which is good, because you guys know a lot, and that's why you're here. But if anything, it's just to reinforce how much you know and how prepared you are to deal in commercial. What my team does is we manage commercial. We also manage residential. We have a residential property portfolio. I'm going to talk about the commercial one. I work for GV Property Management. I found a company. I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that you need to know as you're getting into commercial property management in its basics. So, a couple of points about us. Some of these are a little bit old. We manage more than 650,000 square feet now. This is about a half a year ago. These are not the properties that we manage. These are just symbols of the towns. So a lot of people ask, "Oh, is this all you have?" No, we have a lot more than that. We are a full-service commercial residential property management firm. By full service, I mean we do everything related to property. I'm going to get into our full list of services at the very end of this. We're based in Vaughan, Ontario. That's where our office is. We service the Greater Toronto and Barrie area. We're not really yet in Hamilton. We're slowly approaching there, property by property, but we're not fully there just yet, so we don't have presence. We manage over $850 million in value, and I think we're up to 800 now. I gotta check at the office of the square footage under management. We do retail, office, industrial, mixed-use properties. We've been around for 7 years, not that long. Most of the first years we're just a leasing agency. We're not a realtor agency where we don't do real estate transactions. We don't find tenants anymore. We have realtor partners. Alex is one of them, who helps us with placing commercial and residential tenants in our different vacant units in our properties. So, what is a commercial property? What does that mean, right? We've heard the different asset classes. It's too bad I didn't go before Isaiah, because now I'm just going to repeat those smart folks here, the stuff that they all know now. But it is real estate intended for business purposes, and that it generates profit through rental income or capital gain. It's essentially what it is, regardless of whether you're buying an office building or a section of an office tower. Regardless if you're buying an industrial facility, you're buying it to make money, right? And for people to transact business. Okay. So beyond the surface, looking at owning commercial properties, realities, and I've talked to a few folks here before the presentation. The realities of managing. So once you already have a property, once Isaiah's numbers made sense, and you go in and start investing instead of buying, you now have a property. Well, what do you do with it? Who are you going to get? Are you going to run it yourself? Depends on the size of the property, depends on what needs to happen over there, depends on your level of skills and your preparedness to go and deal with commercial properties. It is not like a residential property. You're going to go through all the differences in managing residential versus commercial properties. Key points here is your responsibility and level of commitment. I show this craftsman in a lot of my slides. This cannot be you working on weekends on your commercial properties, okay? Maybe fine on 1 or 2 residential properties. On a commercial properties, if you find yourself doing this in your commercial property, yeah, maybe not a good idea, but it's probably you can only do that for so long. This stuff requires strategic management. It requires a lot of thought, it requires a lot of skill. It requires knowledge of legal aspects. We're going to go through that as well in a little bit. So forget about this. You're not going to be able to run it yourself. I don't know anybody who is now running their own commercial properties. There are folks that used to do that from back in the day. Again, times have changed. There's a lot of more complexities where you had, and we have clients who inherited properties from the father, the grandfather who used to drive around, do the whole grass cutting, do the whole plumbing himself, herself, whatever. And it just doesn't work anymore. Clients or tenants, especially at commercial properties, expect a little bit more of a professional approach to things, a little bit more data, a little bit more interactions, a little bit more of that customer service piece. So, it can work for us if you like to manage properties, but certainly I don't recommend you try and do it alone. So starting a couple of differences here, residential versus commercial property measure, what does that mean, right? And that might influence your decisions to which type of property you want to get into. Okay, we start with lease lengths. At commercial properties, you're looking at longer lease terms, obviously, right? Because you have companies establishing businesses, they need some predictability, they need some stability, right? You're not going to get a 6 to 12 months, right? You have a daycare coming in, a restaurant, you have a machine shop, a factory, right? They need at least 10 years, right, in order to even see profit, right, or see any kind of value building or success. So longer lease terms, that offers you a little bit of stability as an owner. It also comes with its own risk, right? If the business isn't doing well, you may not be getting stable rents. Going back to residential, some of the concerns with residential leases, right? We all know about the LTB, we know the shortcomings of the regulatory framework in Ontario right now and the challenges that they're having, right? We know about the tenants are mobilizing, collectivizing, and doing all those things, right? We are aware of this. So there's a bit of pros and cons to both. And it's how you evaluate your opportunity and what you want to do. Speaking of tenants and just leasing in general, right? Commercial properties, you have business-to-business relationships. There's formal communications, right? That is expected, especially if you're in a city, in a professional environment, right? Whereas with residential, you can do hey, how's it going, what's up, kind of thing like that. With commercial stuff, where you're dealing with the client's employees, right, where you're dealing with lots of vendors that are supposed to be doing professional work for your clients or for your tenants, right, it's a whole different level of communication. In writing, right, documented, right, letterheads, all that kind of stuff. So again, it comes with its own benefits, right? Because you're looking at a more, in commercial, we love commercial because you're dealing in general with more level-headed, reasonable people, whereas with the residential, you'd think so, right? Where with residential, you're dealing with, private citizens. Some days are good, some days are not that good, and it all lets itself be known, right? Operating hours, right? So commercial, you're only dealing with people occupying the space during business hours, for the most part, right? There are 24/7 operations, but you're dealing mostly with a 9 to 5 kind of thing. After that, the place is vacant, or just without people, and then there is less wear and tear, there's less concerns, and so on. Whereas residential, they live in that space, they use that space 24/7. And that carries a lot of responsibility on you as an owner of the property, right? So, and availability when required. Other differences, right? And pros and cons. Rent collection, right? So, with commercial properties, you have net leases common. Tenants pay for maintenance, taxes, and insurance, right? So a lot of the costs are directly passed on to the users of the space. There's also a lot of stuff to say about what they can do with the space. Can they remodel? Can they renovate, reorganize, right? Reconnect utilities and endpoints and so forth? Yes, you just sell them space. Whereas with residential, you're selling them, or you're renting them a space that they cannot really modify, except for putting some types of furniture and then basic appliances if you don't provide those to them, and so forth. So what does that do for rent collection? What does that do for relationships, right? Where more and more residential clients or tenants want to feel like they are clients and not like, hey, you're just a tenant kind of thing, right? We all want to feel good, right? In the maintenance section, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later in the presentation. So, for commercial spaces, right, tenants usually manage most of the aspects of maintenance inside, right, where you have multi-tenant units. Then you as a landlord or whoever you're hiring it to be a commercial property manager is responsible for the overall, for the building envelope, the exterior, the spaces between the units, and so forth. So that requires some type of planning. We're going to talk about that. And so forth, right? Whereas with a residential place, it's basically, the less they do, the better for you, and I guess for them as well. In those condos and houses and so forth. For legal regulations, right? I know there's a few lawyers here, commercial lawyers. More complex regulations out there. For example, if you've heard of how many people have heard of the Occupiers Liability Act? None of you guys. Okay, so Occupiers Liability Act, very important because it shows, it states specifically what an owner or an occupier of a property is responsible for when it comes to people accessing the area. Not just the commercial tenants, but anybody, right? Delivery drivers, the public, right, coming in to access the area. What are some responsibilities that occupier has towards people accessing the property, right? When it comes to safety, when it comes to security, when it comes to environmental stewardship, and so forth, right? Occupiers Liability Act, very, very important. And we're talking about the Commercial Tenancies Act. How many of you guys have heard about that one? Yeah, one, okay. So, if you've compared the Residential Tenancies Act and the Commercial Tenancies Act, we've done that comparison on a couple of occasions. You'll see the Commercial Tenancies Act is very general. It has a lot of general language in it, and there's no specific prescriptive stuff like thou shalt cut the grass, or thou shalt clean the snow, and all this other stuff. It's a little bit more general. But it is important when you're dealing with commercial tenancy agreements and some of the references that you should be placing from the CTA. Obviously, we know about the Residential Tenancies Act and the Landlord and Tenant Board, and it's a bit of a problem these days. It's getting better, I hear. The wait times for adjudication are coming down now. They used to be 1.5 years to get a hearing. Now they're 5 months. Still not ideal by any means, but it's getting better. They're training more adjudicators now. So there's a whole bunch of other legal regulations, right? The Ontario Fire Code, the Ontario Building Code, a lot of codes and laws and regulations that if you are trying to manage a commercial property yourself, be prepared to know them, or better yet, give it to somebody else who does know. So tenant management, finding and retaining tenants and handling tenant concerns and disputes. That is one core aspect of commercial property management. Okay, so that is a whole piece. And maybe Alex, you can say a sentence or two about what it takes to find commercial property commercial tenants, because Alex is working on 2 of our clients now.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of work involved, a lot of targeted outreach. It's definitely quite different from residential, especially if you have, say, an office lease. Especially the price point that you're putting it at makes a huge difference, and then just the way you're showcasing it makes a big difference. In residential, you'll find that the landlords tend to really do updates to their units before they list them, whereas in commercial, they will just list them based, like purely the way it looked from the last tenant who might have ran away from there when they couldn't pay their lease anymore, and therefore the property may not look in the best shape. And then when you're showcasing on the commercial side, most of the time the landlord won't be updating the unit, even though it would make a huge difference if they did. You know, that's something to kind of work through in the way you're showcasing it. You know, there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to there being significant demand on the commercial side, but residential is definitely less complex.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. Maintenance and repairs. So unlike residential property management, where you know the tenant calls, you know the furnace doesn't work, you call in an HVAC guy, come in, repair it, works. Here it doesn't really work like that. Here, for commercial property, you have to have regular maintenance schedules, and there are two types of schedules. There's two types of maintenance initiatives. Do you guys know what they are? No? Any guesses? Maintenance cost? Preventative maintenance, yeah, and the other? Demand maintenance, okay? So preventative maintenance is the regular checking and replacement of filters, right? Regular tune-up of sensors and door and lubrication of door hinges. Adjusting your cameras, making sure your lights are calibrated from time to time, right? Checking your fire extinguishers, right? Checking to make sure that doors are closing, opening, all those things that are supposed to be done routinely on a bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual cycles that you have to have in place for commercial properties. A lot of commercial properties that we take over or absorb. Well, where is your preventative maintenance? Well, I don't have one. Oh yeah, let me find it. It's from 1995, right? Okay. So, yeah, so you gotta do that again, right, from scratch. So that's one. Demand maintenance, essentially, same like with residential. When it's broken, please come fix it. And that's fine to have a run-to-fail kind of model where it takes more effort, you know, sometimes to go and check a bathroom fan than to just let it fail and then for the commercial tenant call you and say, okay, it's broken, you know, go and fix it. So for that to occur properly, or demand maintenance, you have to have a way to absorb all of these issues, right? Is this a phone number that they call? Is this an email they send? Is it a work order that they fill out online? Is it a text they send? So all those things, right, which you as an owner, if you're going to be owning commercial properties, you need to expect that from your property management company to have in place so your tenants are not left alone and frustrated with things not working. How is that going to be dealt with, right? In order to then obviously address issues promptly. We're talking about financial management, budgeting, and planning. So when you have a residential property, for the most part, where is my monthly rent, right? Where is my rent at the beginning of the month? I want my rent. That's pretty much all the financial management you're doing for your tenant, right? Whereas for commercial properties, you want to work a little bit with your tenants about what their budget allows for in terms of renovations that you, as a landlord, might be able to offer them that they would need for their property. What is their path to profitability if they're not generating profit yet, so that you can estimate what kind of rent is palatable for them, right? You obviously want to keep good tenants that are paying steady, but it's more of a negotiation when you serve them increases, right? So it's always good practice for the books to be open and to make sure that you understand their financial health, right? And go from there. And then for yourself as well, right? For the if we're talking about that one tenant that owns a unit or two. But the financial health of the property itself, right? Where is the property budget? What kind of capital renovations are you wanting to make over the years to this, little industrial property to make it more attractive, to get it to be just functional after several years, right? And to be attractive as a place for other commercial units to come in and rent out of. And so forth. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff that needs to be kept in mind. This is something that we work with our clients to help them develop their own budget, and then that influences their tenants' budgets as We talked a little bit about legal compliance. All those laws and rules and regulation, you can very easily find the list of all of the commercial property related rules and regulation. You can go on ChatGPT, whatever, Google, find all of them, brush up on them, or if you don't have time, if you don't want to get into that kind of stuff, you can talk to your residential, okay, yeah, or you can talk to us as well. So again, most important when it comes to commercial property law is safety and accessibility standards these days, right? Making sure that the place is AODA compliant. People with wheelchairs and all kinds of accessibility needs can access. It's a serious issue there. Making sure, again, all your fire safety, all your flood preventative stuff is in place, right? Some stuff is not regulated, and like security and just in general, parking lots and things like that, not really regulated. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing that, because all of those things, like all those cracks in the parking, can cause slip and fall. Now all of a sudden, oh right, so now it's regulated. So those things just to keep in mind as you're running through your properties. And technology, okay, so with residential properties, it's basically you and your phone and typing up some stuff. Here with commercial properties, you have to have a software that will show you all aspects of your property, whether it's energy management, whether it's the budgeting and the financial health and performance of your property, right? And all sorts of input. Your security cameras, as they you can watch them, right? Or your company can, the company that manages your property can. So it becomes more of a serious business. Is essentially what I'm trying to say here. These are some of the services that we offer, and some of the services that you can expect to be offering or required to be offered at your commercial properties. You can take a photo, or if Alex is going to share this presentation, and kind of think about what you're getting into as well. A couple of notes about our services, right? Standard PM services for in-town, offshore, snowbird, non-resident investors, individual and corporate entities, right? We partner up with realtors, mortgage professionals, home inspectors, and so forth to carve out a space and to get into properties, to get with clients, and so forth. We do offer some training and education for landlords, so if you're interested, my card is in the donation box there, and then can chat a bit later as well. Any questions? No?
Any question?
No? See, I knew that. You guys all know about this stuff, so it's all good.